Good evening, sci-fi movie nerds, and welcome to the Sci-Fi Movie Guy Show. My name is Mike, and this is weekly show number 11. So we're going to start out as we always do with Star Wars news. And our first story is, director Rian Johnson has nearly wrapped up principal photography on Star Wars Episode 8, well ahead of the film's scheduled December 2017 release date. Though there are many watchful eyes on the project's development, Lucasfilm has once again done a pretty good job of close guarding the movie's greatest secrets. It's true there's still a long time to go before the Episode 8 premiere, but Johnson and his team made it through a crucial step of production without having any major leaks that threatened to spoil the film. Outside of some set photos and speculation regarding Laura Dern's mystery character, not much else is known about the next chapter of the saga. Daisy Ridley has essentially confirmed that Star Wars 8 picks up right from where The Force Awakens left off, a first for the series, and various members of the cast have given vague quotes about how the movie will be darker in tone when compared to its predecessor. Now the rumor mill for Episode 8 is heating up again with a possible, albeit very sketchy, breakdown of key plot points involving Luke Skywalker and Rey. Now the rumor is regarding the Force's origins. The rumor reads a bit like fan fiction and is mostly hearsay similar to previous Reddit leaks of the entire film's plot. But it does give us an opportunity to examine whether or not this would be a strong angle for Lucasfilm and Johnson to explore in Star Wars 8. After all, the beginnings of the Force and the foundation of the Jedi and Sith are mysteries the fans have wondered about ever since the first movie premiered back in 1977. With a talented director like Johnson at the helm, he could very well turn this rumor into a compelling drama, and if you want to check out the rumor, you can go to ScreenRant.com to see the full details. Now, I don't want to give away all of these spoilers in case they're true, so I'm going to let you make up your mind whether or not you want to go back to ScreenRant.com and check out this rumor. I am going to theorize, however, because that's the fun of being a Star Wars fan. So, if we go back, or I guess forward in Episode 8, and we see how the Force began, and the first Force users, and maybe they're just sitting at the kitchen table and they pick up their blue milk with it, or they notice when they get angry they can crush things, and slowly they start to develop, and that's how the Sith develops and the Jedi develop, and maybe they'll do some flashbacks of that. I'm all good with this because I've always wanted to see how the Force began. And so if this is a true rumor, I think it would be great. Again, you can go check out the full story on ScreenRant.com, but I'm not going to give away anything. So our next Star Wars story is Marvel Comics has released Han Solo comic number 1. And I was pleasantly surprised with how good it was. With the exception of most of the Darth Vader comic series and a couple of the Poe Dameron ones, I have been a little disappointed with the new canon comics coming out of the Star Wars universe. In a quote from writer Marjorie Liu, she says, "Basically, I was told that the story takes place between Episode 4 and 5, and then they sort of just let me loose. I turned in several different ideas, but at the core of them, what I kept at the front of my imagination is he's this working class dude who lives paycheck to paycheck, who has a business to run. He's the Han we know and love. He's a con artist, a smuggler, and he's a wisecracking, streetwise dude. But he's got this internal conflict where there wasn't one before. He's really trying to figure out who he is." And I read this comic and it was really good, but I'm a little apprehensive about this series because I thought Poe Dameron number 1 was really good, and then as it went on, I haven't been that enthused with it. So I'm not sure if you've been reading any of the comics, and I'd love to hear your comments about what you think of the Poe Dameron comic in the comments below. But if Han Solo goes the way of Poe Dameron, then I'm going to be really disappointed because I think there's a lot of stories that we could find out about what happened to Han in between Episode 4 and 5. Now, in the old Legends books, before they did the reset, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they did a reset and made canon only the prequel movies, the Clone Wars animated series, Star Wars Rebels, Episodes 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the movies. Then they started releasing other things. They started releasing some novels and some comics. So all of the stuff that we knew about Han Solo from the Legends is no longer there, so they can recreate all of these stories. Now, if this comic keeps going the way the episode or the number 1 comic did, I'm going to be super impressed, because finally we're getting a good Han Solo story outside of the movies. So yeah, I'm really excited about this, and let's see where it goes from there. So our next story is about Star Wars Rebels. So the complete Season 2 DVD is coming out on August 30th, and it's going to deliver all 22 action-packed episodes of the hit CG animated series second season, plus exclusive never-before-seen bonus material on the DVD, and even more exclusive footage on the Blu Ray. This thrilling continuation of the Star Wars Rebels saga depicts the continued efforts of the crew of the Starship Ghost to defeat the evil Empire. Star Wars Rebels was created by Dave Filoni, and he also created the Clone Wars animated series. Simon Kinberg, who did X-Men, Days of Future Past, and Sherlock Holmes, and Carrie Beck. The Lucasfilm animation production is also executive produced by Filoni and Kinberg, featuring the voices of Freddie Prinze Jr. He was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, and he plays Kanan. Vanessa Marshall, she was on TV's Young Justice, and she plays Hera. Steve Blum as Zeb. Tia Sicker as Sabine. Taylor Gray as Ezra. Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano, and she also did the voice for Ahsoka Tano in the Clone Wars. Now, the bonus features on this Blu-ray, just on the Blu-ray, are From Apprentice to Adversary, so Vader versus Ahsoka. This is, again, exclusive to the Blu-ray, and executive producer Dave Filoni reflects on the climactic ending of the season when Ahsoka Tano finally confronts Darth Vader in a long-awaited, fierce, and epic lightsaber battle. Now, on the DVD and the Blu-ray, we get Connecting the Galaxy. So it's Rebels Season 2, uncover hidden references, Easter eggs, and connections to the Star Wars universe found throughout the season. Rebels Recon Show, which you can find on the internet already. Rebels Recon is a weekly show, and they do it right after Star Wars Rebels ends. So the episode ends, and then Rebels Recon is done. So I don't really think that this is a great thing to put on a DVD and a Blu-ray. I would have liked some more behind-the-scenes stuff. Maybe some shots of them doing the voiceovers, like the actors doing the voiceovers. Maybe a little bit from the writers on where they were going with the characters. So I don't know if I'm going to buy Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels on DVD or Blu-ray, because I have all the episodes already saved on my DVR, so I can go back and watch them anytime I want. The only one that I might be interested in is the Ahsoka Vader plotline, where they talk about how it went back from the Clone Wars animated series all the way into Star Wars Rebels. Now, we know at the end of episode 22, we see Ahsoka walking back down into the Sith temple, but we don't know if she's dead or alive, so maybe they'll give us a little hint. But we know at Star Wars Celebration, we're going to get to see episodes 1 and 2 of Season 3 Star Wars Rebels. Now, I wish I could go, but I can't. So if you're going, I would love to hear from you. Send me an email. I'll give my email address at the end of the video. But I'd love to hear from you as it's happening. If you could send me an email or tweet me, and just let me know if it's cool, what's happening, everything that's going on at Star Wars Celebrations. That would be fantastic. Now, our next story in Star Wars news is there's another rumor floating around about the Star Wars trilogy, that Rey is a Palpatine. Now, it sounds pretty crazy when you first hear it, but there's some pretty compelling evidence that is folded into The Force Awakens. The best story I have read so far comes from J. Kenji Lopez Alt, and his full article can be read on HuffingtonPost.com. But I'm going to take you through a few of the points that he makes that I think are pretty cool. So the first one is her fighting style. From the very first viewing of Episode 7 in the theater, I noticed that Rey's first move upon force grabbing that lightsaber is to jab at Kylo with a horizontal stabbing motion, both hands on the hilt, with a big forward shoulder thrust. And this is exactly the move Palpatine used to take the Jedi off guard when Mace Windu comes to arrest him in Revenge of the Sith. Rey repeats the move 2 more times over the course of her short fight with Kylo. The Emperor uses it multiple times in both of his major fight scenes in a fighting style that does not fit into any of the traditional forms, and indicates the character is powerful and talented enough to forge their own style. More importantly, it's a move that is not used by any other saber wielder in any of the other movies. The only two characters to use it are Palpatine and Rey, and they both use it multiple times. The next plot line that lends to this theory is her name. Names in Star Wars movies have always had significance. Darth Vader is obviously Dark Father, as Vader in German means father. Luke is a biblical name that derives from the Latin for light. Han Solo is a loner, solo, loner. Yoda comes from Hebrew for wisdom. Now, Rey could be interpreted a couple of ways. Perhaps she is the ray of light, the new hope for the Jedi to return balance to the Force, but Rey is also Spanish for king, derived from the Latin rex. Doesn't necessarily imply good or evil, light or dark, but it's the kind of thing where if you were to find out in episode 8 or 9 that she is a Palpatine, we'd look back and go, oh yeah, the name fits, just like we did with Darth Vader. So the next one is, she was dumped on Jakku for a reason. It seems pretty clear that Rey was dropped on Jakku in the care of Unkar Plutt after Kylo Ren went rogue for one reason or another. That reason is because Luke is afraid of her and the power potential rise of the dark side she represents. Even Kylo seems to know that she has untapped potential, even beyond the way she whooped his butt with no training at the end of episode 7. Where do you drop someone who you don't want to get trained? Someone who you want to keep hidden from everyone, including themselves. In the ass-backward end of the galaxy on a desert planet. And how do you guarantee that she'll never leave of her own accord? Tell her that her family is going to return to pick her up someday. So the next one is the dream sequence. So during that dream sequence, the Knights of Ren, we see Kylo Ren kill one of the Knights in order to protect Rey. And we know that Kylo knows who she is long before they run into each other outside of Maz's hideout. Remember the scene where he pulls the stormtrooper into his hand to strangle him and asks, "What girl?" Ren could want her for a number of reasons, but I can't think of any that would make him want her more than her being a Palpatine. Then we see her rage. Rey repeatedly loses herself to rage over the course of the movie. She angrily fights with Tito when she sees him hauling off BB-8. She gets a feel for the power of the blaster while firing at the stormtroopers outside of Maz Kanata's hangout, and proceeds to angrily blast her way through several of them before she turns on Kylo Ren. She angrily fights with Ren as he is interrogating her. Now, there's a counter-argument to this. There's one very strong counter-argument, in fact. The Emperor was dead before Rey was even born. But in the fantasy world of Star Wars, there are always ways around this. Clones, carbonite freezing. The Emperor could even have had a child we don't know about, making Rey his granddaughter. In a galaxy where characters can be created by a mystical energy field and return as ghostly visions, I don't think it would be very difficult to explain this chronological anomaly away. Besides, a force-based explanation of how Palpatine reproduced is much less sicky than an imagined physical alternative. I really don't want to imagine his scared body under those robes. So, this is a really cool theory, and it's making me start to think more and more that maybe Rey isn't Luke's daughter. I'm going to say 60% sure now that Rey is Luke's daughter. But I just love talking about these rumors that are coming out, because that's, again, the fun of being a Star Wars fan, is talking about what we think is going to happen, and then when we go see the movie, see how much of it was actually true. But this writer makes a lot of very good points of why Rey might be a Palpatine. If you think about it, it's always been a Skywalker story versus Palpatine. Even though Episode 4, we see Luke and Darth Vader, so father and son Skywalker fighting a lot. Behind Vader has always been Palpatine. So really, it is a Skywalker versus Palpatine story. And talk about a flip in this new trilogy of having the Skywalker, who's Kylo Ren, because he's Leia's son, and Rey, Palpatine's granddaughter, fighting each other, but it's reversed. So the Skywalker's on the dark side and the Palpatine's on the light side. I think that would be really cool if that came out in Episode 9. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think Rey could be a Palpatine? Now again, I'm not saying that this is a for sure rumor. Lots of rumors have been coming out, but it's a really great story. So now we're going to get into sci-fi movie news. So our first story in sci-fi movie news is it was revealed recently that a reboot of the original Stargate movie is on the docket for Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich's regular producer. And in a new interview with Variety, Devlin talked about how the idea for the reboot came together. This is what he said about the idea of rebooting the story. At the time we made it, every single studio in Hollywood had told me that science fiction was dead, and Roland and I really love science fiction, so I think that's partly why it worked and resonated. It wasn't a cynical attempt to try and make something that was crowd-pleasing. He went on to say that Stargate, which eventually spun off into 3 different television series and 354 episodes, was originally meant to be a trilogy. And because of what happened with the rights and the changes at the studio and all kinds of strange things, we never got to do parts 2 and 3. This would seemingly be fixed with the next round of Stargate films, which will be written by James A. Woods and Nicholas Wright, the same writing team that wrote Independence Day Resurgence. Emmerich and Devlin will spearhead the production, with Emmerich still mum on whether or not he will officially be directing the film. But here's what Devlin had to say about the direction of the reboot and what it's like to let someone take over the concept that he helped originate. It's not a story that can take place 20 years later, so the only way to really tell that trilogy is to go back from the beginning and start the story all over again. It was taken away from us, and it's tough to have your children raised by other parents, even if they do a great job. For us, it's not putting down what has been done, it's to let us finish telling our story. Fair point. One would think that with one feature film, 350 or so episodes of television, and 2 made-for-DVD movies under the banner of Stargate, that the story would have been exhausted, but Devlin clearly has an idea for something that hasn't been seen in the world before. Now, I am a huge Stargate television fan, at least of Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. I wasn't too keen on the last Stargate TV show that they let out with 2 episodes, and I can't even remember what the name of that, 2 seasons. I can't even remember what the name of that one was. But I really love Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis and the 2 made-for-DVD movies. And if we go back to the actual Stargate first movie, I liked about the first 25 minutes of it when they found the Stargate and Daniel Jackson was figuring out how to turn it on. And I like the Kurt Russell beginning story. But once he shows up in his uniform and they go through the gate, then it just turns into basically an action film with a few cool things with Skara on the planet. But really, Kurt Russell played such a stiff and staunchy Colonel Jack O'Neill, whereas in the TV show, Richard Dean Anderson did a superb job of bringing more to that character. So I really, really loved the TV show. Now, if it's the same people making these new 3 movies, I hope they don't go back to that heavy action, stoic military that they did in the first Stargate movie. I hope that they take some of the levity from Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis and put that into the 3 feature films. Because if they did that and they took the best of their movie and the best of the TV shows and wrote whole new storylines around the Stargate, I think this could be brilliant. I'm not holding my breath though, because again, only like the first 25 minutes of the first movie. So please let me know what you think in the comments about the reboot of Stargate and 3 new Stargate movies coming out. Now, our next story in sci-fi news is it's very rare to see alternate cuts of a major studio blockbuster get an official release. But perhaps Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is a special case all around. Ever since that film's press junket, director Zack Snyder was teasing that he had so much extra footage that they'd be releasing an extended cut of the film on Blu Ray. And indeed, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition is poised for release, giving on digital HD on June 28th and Blu Ray DVD on July 19th, giving fans an entirely new and rated R look at the film. In anticipation of the Ultimate Edition's release, Warner Bros. Released a brand new trailer for the extended cut of the film earlier this month, which teased some of the new scenes that'll make their way to the Blu-ray. And over the past few weeks, the film's official set photographer, Kleinos, has been sharing some new behind-the-scenes images that further tease some of the scenes that we were left on the cutting room floor when Batman v Superman hit the theaters in March. The theatrical release made $872.6 million and is by no means a disaster, but given the iconic status of the characters involved in this movie, Warner Brothers was hoping for something a little higher. Moreover, folks who were displeased with the film were not exactly silent. Snyder's theatrical cut of the film clearly suffered from structural problems, so it'll be interesting to see if the new scenes in the DVD improve this story. Now, I've told you many a times, I liked Batman v Superman. I thought it was a good film. I didn't think it was a great film. I thought the fight scene between Batman versus Superman was awesome. I thought the Batman was awesome. I think it's the best Batman ever. Ben Affleck was great as Bruce Wayne. I like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I thought the writing for him was not so great, but I thought the way he portrayed the character was. But my biggest complaint about that movie, and the reason I only gave it 7.5, which I still think is a pretty good review, is because of the way the movie was cut. And you can go back and watch my Batman v Superman spoilers review. It's on my channel, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the other things that I liked and didn't like. But I'm excited to see if Zack Snyder's vision for the movie was ruined by the studio by turning it from a 3-hour movie into a 2.5-hour movie, or if this movie just really wasn't that great. So, I can't wait for July 19th. I'm going to go out and buy the DVD. I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to do a review of the new Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. So please look for that video. It'll come out sometime around, if it comes out July 19th, I'll give you guys about a week to watch it, maybe a little less, and then I'll do a spoilers review of it to see if my opinion has changed and if my grade goes up or if it stays at 7.5 or maybe even it goes down. So our next piece of news in the sci-fi world, and it's not really sci-fi, I did this a couple shows ago, but it's about the new Macgyver TV show. So James Wan has signed on to direct a rebooted pilot for the CBS series Macgyver, which picked up a series order last month. CBS greenlit the show based on a pilot that has now been completely scrapped, with THR reporting that star Lucas Till, X-Men Apocalypse, and CSI alum George Eads serving as the only two cast members that will remain. With Wan at the helm, a new version of the show's first episode will be conceived and shot before the series debuts on CBS this fall. Wan was actually originally set to direct the Macgyver pilot, but when it landed, due to the fact that Wan came up with an idea to change the big bad of The Conjuring 2 from a demon to a nun, well after the movie had wrapped, resulting in some new post-production work and reshoots, veteran TV director David Von Anken, Hell on Wheels and Californication, replaced Wan, and now Wan will be replacing Von Anken. Wan, of course, is the filmmaker who originated the Saw series and honed his craft in the horror genre before making the jump to blockbusters with worldwide box office smash Fast and Furious 7. He is now set to direct Aquaman as part of the DC Extended Universe for Warner Brothers, starring Jason Momoa. But with the July 2018 release date still a ways off, and Momoa and Amber Heard occupying shooting in Justice League, it appears Wan will keep himself busy taking his talents to television with Macgyver, which marks its TV debut. So I was a huge Macgyver fan. I think Macgyver was a great TV show when I was growing up as a kid, and I am really excited to see this. But I'm a little nervous that they scrapped the whole pilot, got rid of the director, and brought James Wan back. That means they probably weren't that happy with the first run. But because Wan had originally started this and said he was going to be doing it, and then had to go away from the project, Now he's back. I think CBS had their faith in him to do a great MacGyver show. So let's hope that the new MacGyver show is good and that they have enough time to film the pilot and get it out on the air for the fall. Now, my next story in sci-fi news, and this is sci-fi, although it's TV, the CW has released their fall schedule for the DC superhero TV shows, and they are as follows. So Tuesday, October 4th will be The Flash. Wednesday, October 5th, we're going to get Arrow. Monday, October 10th, Supergirl. And Thursday, October 13th, DC Legends of Tomorrow. And I thought on today's show I would do a rundown of my thoughts on these 4 shows and give you my views on them because I'm a huge DC fan. So let's start with Arrow. That was the first one that came out of all these. And I really loved Arrow Season 1 and 2. Then it started to get a little off because they weren't showing as much about the island, and it was more getting focused on him turning from being really, really dark into being the Green Arrow. And so it fell a little flat for me at the end, and now it just seems like they might be running out of storylines. Now, they did a cool thing by killing Laura Lance near the end of the last season, and so I'm curious to see if this pushes him back to being a little more dark, and that's what I want to see out of Arrow coming in. I don't want to see him become the Green Arrow. They showed him becoming the mayor at the end of the show, and I hope they don't focus too much on him being the mayor, and I hope they go back to the roots of the show, which was him being disturbed from being trapped on an island and being a mercenary. That's really what I want to see. So now we're going to talk about The Flash, which to me is the best show of the 4. I've been super happy with The Flash right from the beginning to now. They keep it fresh. They keep introducing new characters. The Flash is evolving as a superhero at the pace that I want him to be. And the supporting cast is really good. Bringing in Eobard Thawne, which turns out that he's not Eobard Thawne. And then we get Jay Garrick, who turns out to be Evil Flash. It's just some great plot twists that you don't really see coming. So The Flash, by far my favorite out of the 4. Then we get into Supergirl, which I was really excited about because I had heard that they were not going to ever show Superman in it. Like they might show glimpses of him here and there and talk about him. But I really wanted them to explore the Supergirl. And so far, so good. But now I'm hearing stories that in the next season, we are going to actually meet Superman. And they're going to have at least 1 or 2 episodes where they team up to work together. Now, if they bring back Tom Welling from Smallville, I'll be happy. Because I would really like to see him come back as Superman. If they bring in a new actor, who's virtually an unknown, I don't see the point of it. I'd like them CW to tie in Smallville somehow, and then that would be cool. But if they bring in a totally new actor, I just think that they're worried about the ratings, and they said, oh, if we bring in Superman, it'll boost up the ratings. And you don't need it. She is doing a great job on her own, and they're developing some great characters like Martian Manhunter. So, yeah, we'll see where that goes. I'll probably be doing some reviews of the TV shows as they come out and through the fall. But let's hope that it's Tom Welling and it's Smallville coming back for a little cameo, which would be a real nod to the first DC superheroes that came out on the CW. And then finally, DC Legends of Tomorrow. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of this at all. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are. But I think the first episode was okay, the second episode was okay, and then from there it's fallen really flat for me. So I don't even think that I'm going to watch the next season of DC Legends of Tomorrow. So in order of ranking, I would have to go that I like The Flash the best right now, Supergirl, Arrow, and DC Legends of Tomorrow. But Arrow and Supergirl could flip around depending on what happens this year. So that was my little bit into TV. And our final story in sci-fi news is The Marble Machine is never at rest. Just as the studio is gearing up to start filming Thor Ragnarok and Spider-Man Homecoming, production is winding down on James Gunn's Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 2. New cast addition Kurt Russell wrapped up on the film earlier this month and has yet to be revealed his role, though at this point, if he's somehow not Peter Quill's father, everybody is just going to be bummed out. And today brings a wrap for the Star-Lord himself, Mr. Chris Pratt. The highly anticipated sequel to one of Marvel's most original films and Steven Spielberg's favorite superhero movie kicked off back in February, and now the cast and crew are about to come back down to earth, at least until they hit Comicon next month. As Gunn confirmed in today's wrap video, saying he'll be there alongside Pratt and a bunch of the gang to show us some pretty cool stuff. As for the rest of the gang, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Karen Gillan, Sean Gunn, and Michael Rooker are rumored to be possibly making an appearance on the panel at Comicon. So if they all do show up and we have a giant Guardians of the Galaxy panel, I think this is going to be one of the hits of Comicon. I think it might be even bigger than what Star Wars does, because Star Wars has Star Wars Celebrations the week before. Now, Star Wars has a way of taking over Comic-Con too, and maybe they're going to save something juicy for it. I don't know, but if I was going to Comic-Con, I would definitely be going and standing in line to get front row seats to the Guardians of the Galaxy panel, because I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And the local hometown Nathan Fillion is in it, so I'm even going to be more excited to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So that wraps up weekly show number 11. I want to thank everybody for watching, and again, please leave any comments in the comments section of things that I've talked about or things you want to talk to me about. You can also email me, movieguySci-Fi@gmail.com, or follow me on Twitter and send me a tweet. Any questions that you send, my Twitter handle is @movieguySci-Fi, and any questions you send, I'll be happy to read them on the air and talk about any questions you might have of me. So again, thanks for watching, everybody, and remember, nerds rule the world.